Thank you for sharing that. And I'd like to turn to you, Patrick, for just one more use case before we end. Can you share a little bit about the Promissa experiment, more around the working with the multilaterals and IFIs, using Canton protocol, actually?
Yes, yes. And before I share that, I just wanted to echo a lot of my panelists saying, for the World Bank, at the end of the day, we are an issuer, primary market issuer. Our bonds tend to be very long, so I think the stability of the system, whatever technology would be, that's the most important. I like the fact that there is some sort of a consideration on the resiliency of this, because at the end of the day, like any transactions, this is the trust that we have embedded ourselves for the last 80 years in the capital markets. How do we move forward to another set of new world? I think the same trust needs to be there. And thank you for mentioning Project Promissa. Like the Inter-American Development Bank, we are actually looking into blockchain technology to affect other part of our business. And most namely this is the inflow of how we get funded as an international finance institution. We are basically funded by all our member countries, either in the form of hard cold cash or in the form of promissory notes. And these are a simple IOU, and you'll be very surprised after we got created together with the IMF in 1945, these notes are still sitting in the vaults of all the central banks in its original paper form. The attractiveness of what we have learned in international capital markets, this technology, is we could create that digital custody. You could call it digital twin, you could call it digital native, but it's something no longer just scanning. It's basically creating all of the information into a token or anything that we want to call it, and exists on a chain that very, very much appreciative of Yuval's team to helping us create that prototype through the Canton protocol. We were trying to define something that actually can actually showcase an interoperability, because this is the way for us, and this is a response to the G20 call for the World Bank and the other MDB to be faster, more efficient, more transparent. We're putting all of our fundings, hopefully, in a very transparent format. And these flows of funds are going to be tracked and potentially be encashed as other digital forms of payment would be available. Now, I see a couple of interesting things that this project can bring up is, of course, showing transparency. All the central banks and all the nations will be able to see what their holdings with the World Bank. And of course, we are part of a very big MDB network. There are other MDBs that actually own these promissory notes from the member countries. So we're looking at countries perhaps also to have a central repository to see what everything is happening at the same time. Lastly, I want to mention, if I have just another 5 seconds, is that we also are working on a blockchain type project to help trace our loans. So this is front to end, not talking about the capital market. This is funds coming from the start, from the sovereigns to our network. We reinvest and also tracking it to a loan, and this is what we call a funds chain, where we can actually trace and trigger all the required criteria.
Fantastic. Well, thank you for sharing that, and thank you too. I think that really nicely summarizes the potential, that's from financial inclusion to transparency to also taking so much of that capital off of the sidelines and bringing it into the system where it's desperately needed in many cases. So thank you all to our panelists for joining us. This conversation is obviously to be continued. The most imminently, we will be gathering with some of our over 120 of our global financial scholars and alumni in Arusha in Tanzania with Sandra and other friends of GBBC just in 6 days' time now. So the conversation will keep going, and thank you all for being here today. Looking forward to the rest of the discussion.